In a recent video, I was talking about whether or not the Fuji GFX 50R is a camera that's worth it in 2025. Now, I covered a good amount in that video, but I did so kind of quickly. And one of the things I think I glossed over a little bit was the lens ecosystem that exists for this camera. Now, the benefit that I wanted to highlight was that vintage lenses are very much adaptable to this camera system, so you can try a wide variety of lenses for a relatively affordable price. But what I didn't call out is that actually for a while now, I've had the GFX 45mm. That was my original lens when I bought this camera. So what I wanted to do was a little bit of a comparison. For people that are looking for modern digital lenses with a little bit more of the sharpness that comes with modern glass, or for the people that are looking for affordable lenses or for smaller lenses, we have the options for both. But so what I wanted to do was take more of a detailed look at just the lenses when it comes to this camera system. Because the rest is great, but lenses are really going to be a pretty important driver for you in your photographic career. So what's up, internet? I'm George Edward, a photography YouTuber here on YouTube. And in today's video, we're gonna be talking about lenses and the GFX lenses in particular. So whenever I go out on the field to record video of me taking photos, I always forget to record an intro. So that's what this is kind of satisfying here. But what we're gonna do is jump over to those videos where we could look at a little bit more into my thought process while I'm taking photos. And then we'll compare those photos in Lightroom in a little bit. So we drove around, or I drove around for a little while looking for a composition that I actually liked, and I had very little luck finding one. And my photography approach has changed over the years. I've gotten a lot slower, so for me to go out and get a bunch of photos, it just was gonna be challenging. But I did find this composition here that I do really like. And this composition behind me, there's a good amount of line work with all the different poles and stuff taking place. We have good light. But I gotta be quick here because we're about to lose it. We got like 20 minutes till sundown. But essentially, just looking to compare the lenses. So we have the Contax 45mm on there right now, but then here's the good old GFX. And I haven't really brought this out too much. I haven't really used it in like 2 years. But this lens is really powerful, it's really crisp, it's really shiny, and we're gonna put this on to compare the two. Okay, so that's with the Contax 45. And then let's go ahead and put the GFX 45 on there and see how this bad boy does. Now, if what I think is happening, I actually feel like I need to overexpose on this lens a little bit to get the image that I'm looking for out of this. For this shot, I pretty much lost the light on the bridge. This one's all done, but we'll go out hopefully a little bit more tomorrow morning. We'll get some more shots and we'll take it from there. So, peace. Talk soon. So the image we just took, we have them both open in Lightroom here. There's a few things I wanted to talk about to compare these two images. For instance, you could see a little bit of the color that we're getting directly out of camera. All of the colors are going to be way more just muted. But again, when I was there on the scene and you guys just saw, the sun was way more vibrant than what was actually present in these images. So like a lot of these, right, the beauty kind of lives within the edit. So adding the edit back to it, and again, this is more color pulling than I would say anything else. I'm not doing anything too much to it other than flattening the highlights, improving the contrast, and adjusting the colors how I actually want. But these are the final results. I'm extremely happy with the way that these images came out. I really like all of the detail that we're able to get with these images. If you'll notice, the color is extremely similar. So if we kind of overlap these as though they're the same picture, we can see kind of how these would look. The sky gradient is relatively similar. The color that's actually folding in and out here is really similar. The amount of detail that's present on these poles, or if we scroll over here to this train here, we can see and feel all of the detail that is there. So one of the things that kind of really struck me is I thought a lot of the detail would get lost on the Contax lens versus the GFX lens, but a lot of these photos proves that that's not quite the case. Okay, so I saw this, I liked it. It looks like the sun already moved past it, but I thought this could be a good opportunity to test our depth of field. So
This is at f2.8 on the contacts. Try to get one more. Now, I unfortunately suck at car photos. So we're gonna throw on the 45mm GFX. I already know that this is gonna have a much softer look to it, but I think in actually a pretty good way. I'm ready. On to the next.
One of the things I wanted to compare was depth of field fall off. This doesn't give us too much of a comparison, but I do think this is an interesting photo so you guys can see the amount of detail. They're both there, right? Like you have plenty of detail, and zooming in 100 times on this image is just probably more than you would ever zoom. But that said, like these scratches and kind of abrasions that exist on this car here versus here, very noticeable that the left-hand image is just a little bit better at picking up all of those small details. But where you notice the GFX can start to really shine on its own is when you look at an image like this one on the right-hand side. Now, I was looking to hit focus right here, and I missed it, but I am focused really sharply on this portion of the car. And we can see like just like the blur behind it, like where you're sharp and where you're not sharp. It's just like a really nice fall off. I don't know if it's because it's physically a longer lens, so the fall off is just a little bit nicer because its focusing distance is also a little bit closer than this one. But again, I think that might just be because of the actual physical size of the lens itself.
I only have one tripod, so as far as high quality video is concerned, this is not that. The camera's just laying on the ground over there. So this one I'm gonna shoot at f5.6 at 1/500th of a second. We have the contacts on here now. And what I'm doing is just making sure that I'm pulling focus primarily on the stop sign. And 500th of a second, f5.6. Pull the trigger. Sweet. This one will be helpful because there's a lot of greens in here. And I think digital kind of renders greens a little bit different to begin with. Film has a much softer green palette in my limited experience. And so I want to see what an older lens versus what a newer lens looks like with green. So here we go. And there we go.
And these two are really fun. These ones, I wanted to compare the greens on both of these lenses. So this was just a scene that was getting lit up. I really liked the way it looked, and I wanted to see just how the greens would uphold. Greens on a digital sensor, I feel like can look really weird, and they can get introduced in a lot of areas where you don't necessarily want green. So I wanted to just test out this image here, and I just loved this jasmine bush running and vining across the street. It's just really pretty. This time of year, jasmine really pops off in New Orleans, so it looked great. If you zoom in here, you'll see just like the amount of detail that's present on both of these. Again, nothing majorly different. I think all of the detail that you want is there. And so this photo is shot at f5.6, and this is where you'll start to see some of that aberration and distortion start to take place in the corners on these images. So this is obviously the contacts, and this is what's going to happen to your corners. So it's a pain point for sure. It's not something you really want. That said though, I do think that it is maneuverable. Oftentimes I don't get it as bad as it is here in this image, but if we look over here in this image, there's absolutely no distortion in the corners. Everything is doing what you'd expect and all of your details being captured. But from a colors perspective, we can see kind of what the original photo looked like versus what I added. I think all of the greens look as good as you want them to. They're as bright as they looked in real life. And I just introduced the warmth that the sun was bringing back to the image.
I really am sorry about that. I need to get like a portable little phone tripod because that'd be better than the footage that I'm getting out of this right now. But this shot here, this house right in front of me is getting beamed with a good amount of light. And I have the tree leaves kind of blowing in the wind, getting hit by a good amount of light as well. I have the corner of the house aligned in the center of the composition. I have f11 and 60th of a second. Okay, Now, on to the GFX. In these, I think f11 shows the best, but we'll see. We'll see what we're working with. We'll see. They're close, man. It might just be the little bit of like extra like halation or like lens, or like just distortion that the contacts adds. It's really hard to tell, but I can't tell what I'm liking more at the moment. I gotta be honest with you.
And so this one's a fun one because I really had a tough time comparing these two images. I mean, if we look at the original, again, the amount of warmth I was able to reintroduce, like this was getting beamed with golden light, and we were able to really soften this image. It looks really filmic on both of these lenses. There's something about the way the Contax is handling this situation that I like better. I don't know if it's more halation or less halation. The color rendering, it's really subtle. There's just a bit of a natural brightness that's happening on the Contax lens that I'm finding myself favoring a little bit more. Again, it's extremely, extremely subtle, but I do notice a difference. And the last bit, because I think it's fun to call out, is the way that reflections are actually being caught up. So this one has a 6-leaf shutter. We can count them right there. Whereas this one has more. I forget, I try to count. I think it's up above 10 to 12. So it's a lot more of a circular aperture, so you don't get any of this kind of abstraction of the light, but it can be kind of cool and it adds characteristics to your images. Just depends on if it's something you want, but this is where the uniqueness of older lenses will start to show its head. Now, we've looked at all the images, but there's a few things I kind of want to close out on. When we think about lenses and what they actually are going to bring and introduce to our process, there's a few things that I want to call out. For starters, we can't help but highlight the fact that the GFX system and the sensor is doing a lot of this work for us. The lenses are only a piece of the puzzle, but what I'm actually getting and pulling and using in post, a lot of that is coming from the sensor. So this is going to have its differences and it's going to add its own characteristics. But again, my editing style is my editing style. So I'm going to look to mimic that no matter what camera or lens I'm using. And it should give you some confidence that what you're doing is only as limited by the tech or the gear as you're willing to allow it to be. Playfully psychological or philosophical, but the idea being that you will be able to make these images come to life in your own way over time once you have your own unique style. So don't want to get too lost in that, but thought I'd call it out. Now, what I do want to call out is the size of both of these. When we think about the things that you're going to care about when considering these, the size is something we cannot overlook. With this lens and this camera as a travel camera, it's big. So for reference, just to put it on here, look how wide this is. It's not a big deal, right? Like I'm an able-bodied person, I can carry this camera and deal with it. But the fact is, if I don't have to, and I can get really similar results with this, why wouldn't I do it? So size is going to be a key consideration for you. Next thing I want to call out is price. We have to talk about it. If you're looking to buy any of these, price is going to be extremely important. This lens on eBay is like $250 to $350. You could get it from Japan. That's where I did. I think I paid $260 for it. But these two pieces together will cost you around max $400, depending on taxes and what you're able to get the lens for. But let's say you get this for $300, which I think is fair. You'll be able to pick this up at B&H Photo for like 90 bucks. So this is the Kippen CY to GFX. This lens, on the other hand, beautiful though it may be, is $1,400. Now, I didn't do too much investigation, but I'm going to assume that that price can fluctuate, where you can get it for like $1,200, $1,000, but on the higher end of like probably hovering around $1,500 bucks. So now we're looking at this lens and adapter for $400 versus this lens for $1,400. So $1,000 difference, worth a consideration there. So that's the important piece, price and size. This one in both aspects is smaller. This one in both aspects is bigger. But with this, what you're going to get are two things that might be very important to you: better focus fall off and autofocus, which I don't use autofocus. I find the manual focus ring on this to be extremely smooth and enjoyable to use. But what I do want to call out is the noise of the autofocus. So I'll hold this up here and I'll try to see if I can get it to search. It's doing a good job. But you hear that? The autofocus is loud and it's reliable. I used to use it when I only use this lens. It was all I would use, but it's it can miss. So those are the things I would call out. Detail and autofocus. If those are really important to you, then you know what you have to do, and you're going to want a more modern lens like this GFX lens here. And that, my friends, would be the bulk of it. So I'm hoping this video stepped us into the realm of your considerations, where you might be looking at this lens versus something vintage, because you might say, hey, why would I want to use an old lens when I can use a new one? And if that is you, then hopefully this provided some clarity for you. At the very least, hopefully it was entertaining. So as always, if you made it this far, I appreciate it more than you know. If you liked it, like it, subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.